I looked at her across my own dining table and kept my voice level. "This is still my house, Veronica." She didn't even glance up from her phone. "Is it, though?" That was the moment I knew. 3 years of walking on eggshells in my own home. 3 years of watching my son shrink beside her. 3 years of being treated like the help it all crystallized in those 3 words. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It started the way these things always do. Gradually. So gradually you don't notice you're being erased from your own life until you've already disappeared. My wife Catherine died 6 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. 42 years of marriage gone in 8 months. The house felt too big after she passed. Too quiet, too full of memories. When Marcus called saying he and Veronica needed a place to stay just temporarily, just until they got back on their feet after his business venture collapsed, I said yes immediately. I told myself I was helping my son. The truth? I was lonely. I thought having family in the house again would fill the silence. I was right about the silence part. The first month was fine. Pleasant, even. Veronica cooked dinner twice a week. Marcus helped with yard work. They paid for groceries. Veronica complimented Catherine's garden, the one I'd been maintaining like a shrine. "Your wife had wonderful taste, Walter," she said, and I actually teared up. Month 2, small things started shifting. Veronica rearranged the kitchen cabinets. "More efficient this way," she explained. I found Catherine's measuring cups, the ones with the faded flowers, the ones she'd used for 30 years in a box in the garage marked donate. "Oh, those old things," Veronica said when I brought them back inside. "I bought you a new set, digital, much more accurate." I put Catherine's cups back in the cabinet. They disappeared again the next week. I didn't fight it that time. Month 3, Marcus started working late, very late. Veronica started having opinions about everything. The thermostat was too high. The TV was too loud. I couldn't have the guys over for poker night anymore because she needed the house quiet for her creative work. She was a freelance graphic designer who seemed to mostly browse Pinterest on the couch. "It's just temporary," Marcus said when I mentioned it. He looked exhausted. "She's stressed about money. We both are." I didn't ask why they weren't paying rent. I didn't ask why Marcus's stress looked more like resignation. I didn't ask a lot of things. Month 6. I stopped having opinions about my own furniture. Veronica redecorated the living room. Catherine's antique rocking chair, the one her grandmother had given us, went into the garage. "It doesn't match the aesthetic," Veronica explained. "I'm trying to create better feng shui. You'll thank me." I never went into the living room anymore. By the end of year 1, I was asking permission to use my own garage. Veronica had claimed it for storage and projects. The projects seemed to be a growing collection of items she bought online and never used. An elliptical machine, a pottery wheel, stacks of organizational bins that remained empty. My woodworking tools, the ones I'd had since Marcus was a boy, were pushed into a corner, buried behind her abandoned hobbies. Year 2, I started eating dinner in my bedroom. The kitchen had become Veronica's domain. She'd established meal times and got irritated if I wanted to make myself a sandwich outside the schedule. "I'm trying to run an efficient household, Walter," she'd say, as if she were doing me a favor, as if this weren't the house I'd lived in for 40 years. The house where I'd carried Catherine over the threshold. The house where Marcus took his first steps. I told myself it was easier to just go along with it. Marcus barely looked at me anymore. When he came home from work, he'd give me this apologetic half-smile and disappear into the bedroom. Sometimes I heard them arguing. Veronica's voice would get sharp, cutting. Marcus's would get quieter and quieter until it disappeared altogether. I recognized that disappearing act. I was doing it too. Year 3, 2 months ago, something in me started paying attention again. Maybe it was the morning I realized I was tiptoeing in my own hallway. Maybe it was the afternoon Veronica called me into the living room, Catherine's living room. The room where we decorated Christmas trees and celebrated birthdays and held Catherine's wake, and told me I needed to learn to knock before entering shared spaces. "Shared?" I said. "Well, we all live here," she said. "We need to respect each other's boundaries." I almost laughed. Boundaries. I'd been pushed so far into the margins of my own home I barely existed. That night I lay in bed, my bed, in my room, in my house, and thought about Catherine, about what she would say if she could see me now. Catherine, who'd faced down cancer with more spine than I was showing against a woman who'd been living rent-free in our home for 3 years. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in months. I made breakfast in my own kitchen at 7 a.m. outside of Veronica's prescribed meal window. She came downstairs in her robe, saw me at the stove, and her face went tight. "It's not breakfast time yet," she said. "It's my house," I said. My voice shook. "It's breakfast time when I say it is." She stared at me. Then she smiled. Not a friendly smile, a smile that said she'd been waiting for this. "Actually, Walter," she said, pulling out her phone, "I've been meaning to talk to you about that. Legally speaking, after 3 years of residence, Marcus and I have tenant rights, even without a formal lease." I looked it up. My eggs were burning. I didn't turn off the stove. "You looked it up," I repeated. "Oregon law is very clear about tenant protections. You can't just kick us out, even if your name is on the deed." She said deed the way you'd say quaint notion. "You'd have to go through formal eviction proceedings. Do you know how long that takes? 6 months. Minimum. And that's if you win, which you wouldn't. We're family. The court wouldn't evict your son's family." She walked to the coffee maker, the one she'd bought to replace Catherine's old percolator, and started her morning routine as if she hadn't just threatened me in my own kitchen. "Besides," she said, pouring coffee into her mug, the one that said, "Nevertheless," she persisted, "where would you even go? Marcus said you can barely work your phone. You'd be lost without us here." The smoke alarm started going off. My eggs were definitely burning. Veronica sighed, annoyed, and opened the window. I stood there, spatula in hand, smoke curling around me, and something cold settled in my chest. She thought she'd won. That night, Marcus came home from work at 10 p.m. He looked like he always looked these days, hollowed out, running on fumes. I asked him if we could talk. He said he was tired. I said it was important. We sat in the kitchen, my kitchen, though it felt like hers now. "Son," I said, "are you happy?" He looked at his hands. "Dad, I'm just trying to get through the day." "That's not what I asked." "What do you want me to say?" His voice was flat. "Dead? That my business failed? That I can't afford to move out? That I'm 36 years old living with my father? I want you to say whether you're happy with Veronica." His jaw tightened. "She's my wife." "That's not what I asked either." He stood up. "I'm going to bed." "Marcus." "I can't do this right now, Dad. I can't." I watched him walk away. Watched him choose her, the way he'd been choosing her for 3 years. Or maybe not choosing her. Maybe just choosing the path of least resistance. I understood that impulse. I'd been taking that same path. The breaking point came 4 days later. I was in the garage trying to get to my woodworking bench. Veronica's elliptical machine was blocking it. I tried to move it. It was heavy. I'm 64, not 24. I was struggling with it when Veronica appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Moving this," I said. "I want to use my tools." "That's a $1,000 machine, Walter. You can't just shove it around. You haven't used it in 18 months. That's not the point." "Then what is the point?" She crossed her arms. "The point is, you can't just do whatever you want around here anymore. This is a shared space. You need to consult me before making changes." Something snapped. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a quiet click in my brain, like a lock opening. "Get out," I heard myself say. "Excuse me?" "Get out." My voice was steady now, completely calm. "You and Marcus, out of my house." She actually laughed. "We've been through this. I can't evict you without due process." "I know. You made that very clear." I set down the elliptical machine handle. "I'm not evicting you. I'm leaving." That stopped her. "You're... what?" "I'm leaving. I'll be gone by tomorrow." I walked past her, into the house, into my bedroom. I pulled my old suitcase from the closet, the one Catherine and I had taken to Hawaii for our anniversary. Veronica followed me. "You can't just leave. This is your house." "Yes," I said, opening drawers, pulling out clothes. "It is my house, which means I can leave it any time I want. But where will you go?" "Not your concern." "Walter, this is ridiculous. You're being childish." I kept packing. "Marcus!" she called. "Marcus, your father's having some kind of episode." Marcus appeared in the doorway, looked at my suitcase, at me, at Veronica. "Dad," he said, "what's happening?" "I'm going to stay somewhere else for a while," I said. "You two enjoy the house." "Dad, you don't have to. Listen to me or leave." I said. Quiet. Firm. He froze. We both knew those words. Veronica had said them to him. More than once. I'd heard her. I'm choosing to leave, I said. For now. I finished packing. Veronica was talking, saying something about overreacting, about being dramatic, about family. I wasn't listening anymore. I walked out my front door at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday, drove to a Holiday Inn Express 3 miles away, checked in, sat on the generic hotel bed, and pulled out my phone. It took me 20 minutes to figure out how to Google something. Marcus was right, I'm not good with technology. But Catherine's voice was in my head. You're not stupid, Walter. You're just stubborn about learning new things. I typed slowly. Lawyer property dispute, Portland. The first few results were ads. Then I found a website for Chen and Associates, family law. I almost clicked away when I saw the name. Veronica had made enough lawyer Chen jokes over the years. But then I saw the profile photo. A woman, maybe early 50s, with kind eyes and a professional smile. Diana Chen. The reviews called her fierce and compassionate. I sent an email at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. I didn't expect a response until morning. She replied at 9:45. Mr. Brennan, I'm available tomorrow at 10 a.m. if that works for you. I've dealt with several cases like this. We'll figure it out. I slept better that night than I had in 3 years. Diana's office was in a renovated house in the Pearl District. Lots of exposed brick and plants. Her assistant, a young guy with purple hair, offered me coffee. Good coffee, not the watery stuff from the hotel. Diana shook my hand firmly. Tell me everything, she said. So I did, the whole story. 3 years of gradual erasure, the tenant rights threat, the way my son looked like a ghost, the moment I decided to leave. She took notes, didn't interrupt. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. Okay, she said. Here's the situation. She's technically correct about tenant rights. After 3 years, even without a lease, they have legal protections. But, and this is important, those protections don't include the right to exclude you from your own property. She's not your landlord. You are theirs. So what do? We file for formal eviction, 30 days notice in Oregon. Then if they don't leave, we go to court. She pulled out a calendar. You're looking at 6 to 8 weeks, best case scenario. But Walter, I have to tell you this is going to be unpleasant. Evicting family is never clean. I know. Your son might not forgive you. I know that too. She studied me. Why did you leave the house? You had every right to stay. Because I needed to think clearly, I said, and I couldn't do that with her, treating me like I was trespassing in my own home. I needed distance, perspective, and evidence. Evidence? I pulled out my phone, showed her the photos I'd taken before I left. Catherine's rocking chair in the garage, the boxes of her things marked donate, the corners I'd been pushed into. I also have bank statements showing I've paid every bill for 3 years. Mortgage, utilities, property taxes, everything. They haven't contributed $1. I'd pulled those records at the hotel last night, going through old files on my laptop. And I have this. I played a voice memo. From 2 weeks ago, when I'd started to suspect where this was heading, Veronica telling me I needed to check with her before having anyone over. Veronica explaining the new house rules she'd established. Diana smiled. You're not as hopeless with technology as you think. The notice was delivered 2 days later. By a process server, professional, legal, formal. My phone started ringing at 2 p.m. I didn't answer. By evening I had 67 missed calls, 54 from Veronica, 13 from Marcus. The voicemail started angry. Veronica's voice, shrill. How dare you, after everything we've done for you? Then confused. Marcus, Dad, call me back. We need to talk about this. Then desperate. Veronica again. Walter, please. We can work this out. I'm sorry if I overstepped. Let's just talk. I deleted them all and called Diana. They've received notice, I said. I know. My office got 3 calls from Veronica this afternoon. I didn't take them. A pause. You doing okay? Honestly? Better than I've been in years. Good. Stay strong. The hard part's coming. She was right. Day 3. Marcus showed up at the hotel. I don't know how he found me. Maybe Veronica called every hotel in Portland. He looked terrible. Hadn't slept. Hadn't shaved. Dad, he said when I opened the door. Please, can we just talk? We sat in the hotel lobby. He bought coffee from the machine. It was awful. We both drank it anyway. "You're really doing this," he said. "I am. She's my wife." "I know. If you kick her out, I have to go too." "I know that too, son." His hands were shaking. I don't have anywhere else to go. The business debt. I'm still paying it off. I can't afford first month, last month, deposit. I can barely afford groceries." "Then you should have been saving the rent money you haven't been paying for 3 years." He flinched. "That's not fair." "Isn't it? She needed things. The furniture. The redecorating. She said it would help her work." "Marcus." I put my hand over his. "Do you love her?" He pulled away. "What kind of question is that?" "A simple one." "She's my wife," he said again, like it was a spell, like if he said it enough times it would mean something. "That's not what I asked." He stood up. "I thought you'd understand. Mom would have understood. Your mother would have dragged you out of that house by your ear 2 years ago." He stared at me. Then he left. That hurt worse than I expected. The next week was quiet. No more calls. Diana said that meant they were looking for a lawyer. She was right. On day 9 we got a response. They were fighting the eviction, claiming financial hardship, claiming I'd promised them they could stay as long as needed, claiming the stress was affecting Veronica's health. "Standard defense," Diana said. "The judge will see right through it." Court was scheduled for 3 weeks out. In the meantime, I stayed at the hotel, ate breakfast at the diner across the street, started walking every morning, something I hadn't done since Catherine died. The city looked different from outside my house, bigger, full of possibilities. I called some old friends. Jim, my buddy from the hardware store where I used to work. He met me for coffee. "Heard you're having trouble," he said. "Small town, even in a city this size." "I'm handling it," I said. "Good. About damn time." He stirred his coffee. "We all wondered how long you'd let her push you around." "You knew?" "Walter. We've known you for 40 years. You think we didn't notice you stopped showing up to things? Stopped hosting poker night? That woman had you locked down tighter than a drum. Why didn't anyone say something? Would you have listened?" "Fair point." "Anyway," Jim said, "you need anything, you call. Place to stay, whatever. You're not alone in this." I almost cried into my coffee. The court date arrived. I wore my good suit, the one I'd worn to Catherine's funeral. Diana met me outside the courthouse. "Ready?" she said. "No," I said. "Let's do it anyway." The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Marcus and Veronica sat on one side with their lawyer, a guy in an expensive suit who looked annoyed to be there. Probably pro bono, Diana had guessed, or working for promises of payment they couldn't keep. The judge was a woman in her 60s, Judge Patterson. She'd seen everything, her face said. Their lawyer went first. Painted me as a cruel father trying to make his son homeless. Said I'd invited them to stay indefinitely. Said the eviction was retaliatory because Veronica had politely asked for better household communication. I watched Marcus while the lawyer talked. He was staring at his hands. Then Diana stood up. She was brilliant, calm, precise, devastating. She showed the bank statements, played the recordings, showed photos of Catherine's things in boxes, brought up property tax records, showing I'd owned the house for 43 years. "Mr. Brennan didn't invite them for indefinite stay," Diana said. "He helped family in crisis. That help was exploited. The defendant didn't politely ask for better communication. She systematically took control of his home, his space, and his autonomy. She weaponized tenant law to threaten him, and when he chose to leave his own home to avoid conflict, she claimed victory." She turned to the judge. "This isn't about tenant rights. It's about a man reclaiming his own life." Judge Patterson looked at Veronica. "Miss Brennan, did you pay any rent during your 3-year residence?" Veronica's lawyer jumped up. "Your Honor, there was no formal rent agreement." "I didn't ask you. I asked her." The judge's voice was steel. "Miss Brennan?" Veronica lifted her chin. "We contributed to household expenses." "Such as?" "Groceries. Sometimes. Utilities." "Miss Brennan, I have Mr. Brennan's bank records right here. He paid every utility bill, every property tax payment, every mortgage payment. I see multiple charges to grocery stores under his name." Judge Patterson took off her glasses. "I see 0 financial contribution from you or your husband. What I do see is a pattern of financial exploitation." "Your Honor," their lawyer tried again. Sit down. Judge Patterson looked at Marcus. Mr. Brennan, Jr., do you have anything to say? Marcus stood slowly. He looked at me. Finally looked at me. No, Your Honor. The judge's ruling took 3 minutes. Eviction granted. 30 days to vacate. No extensions. Case closed. Walking out of the courthouse, Diana touched my arm. You okay? Ask me in 30 days. She smiled. Fair enough. Call me if you need anything. Diana, I said. Thank you. Really. That's my job. She hesitated. Though if you want to thank me properly, there's a coffee shop near my office. Good coffee? Better than that swill from the courthouse? Maybe we could. She trailed off. After the 30 days, I said. Once this is really over. I'd like that. Her smile got wider. Deal. The 30 days were strange. I stayed at the hotel, drove by the house a few times but didn't go in. Diana handled communications with their lawyer about move-out details. On day 28, Marcus called. Dad, he said, we need to talk. Can I come to you? We met at the same diner. He looked different, clearer somehow, less haunted. Veronica and I are separating, he said. I set down my coffee. Marcus, I should have done it 2 years ago. I know that now. He rubbed his face. I don't know what happened to me, Dad. It was like I forgot who I was. Forgot I had a choice. She's very good at making people forget that. We're moving out tomorrow. She found an apartment with a friend. I'm going to stay with my buddy Jake for a while. Figure my life out. He looked at me. I'm sorry. For all of it. For what I let her do to you. For what I did to you. You didn't. I did. By doing nothing. That's still doing something. His voice cracked. Mom would be so disappointed in me. Your mother would be proud you figured it out. 3 years too late. Better late than never. We sat in silence for a while. Are you going to move back home? He asked. Eventually. I hired a cleaning service. Contractors are coming next week to fix some things. The damage? I didn't ask what damage. Diana had warned me. Petty destruction was common in these situations. Nothing I can't repair. Dad, I can help. Let me help, please. We'll see, I said. But I was already thinking yes. Day 30, I got the call from Diana. They were out. The house was empty. I drove over at sunset. Jim met me there. I'd called him that morning, asked if he wanted to see the place. The front door was unlocked. Inside. It was bad. Not destroyed, but violated. Holes in walls. Kitchen cabinets hanging open. Catherine's garden, the one I'd maintained like a shrine, trampled. The rocking chair smashed in the garage. Jesus, Jim said. I walked through each room, saw the damage, saw what rage looked like when it couldn't win, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just relief. It's just stuff, I said. It can be fixed. Damn right it can, Jim said. I'll call the guys. We'll have this place shipshape in 2 weeks. It took 3 weeks, actually. But he was right. Between Jim and his crew, Marcus helping on weekends, and my own hands remembering how to hold tools again, we brought the house back. Better than back. Forward. I didn't recreate Catherine's vision. I honored it. Kept the bones of what we'd built together, but made it mine too. New paint, new furniture, old tools back on the workbench. New projects started. Marcus came by most weekends. We didn't talk about Veronica much. He was seeing a therapist, working through things. He got a new job, a good one. Started paying me back for rent, even though I told him not to. I need to, he said. So I put it in an account for him. For later. When he was ready to start over completely. 2 months after I moved back in, I called Diana. Hey, I said. Remember that coffee shop? I do. I'm buying. Friday? I thought you'd never ask. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a concert. She liked jazz. I pretended to understand jazz. She laughed at me. I liked her laugh. So, she said one night, sitting on my rebuilt deck, looking at my replanted garden. This is a nice place. It is now. Going to stay here forever? I don't know about forever. But for now? Yeah. It's mine again. That feels good. She squeezed my hand. It looks good on you. The house, the peace, all of it. I couldn't have done it without you. Sure you could have. You just needed someone to tell you that you were allowed to. Then, thank you for that. 6 months later, Marcus called. Dad, I met someone. I'd like you to meet her. Just coffee. Nothing intense. Her name was Sarah. She was a teacher. Funny, kind, didn't care about decorating or feng shui or running an efficient household. She asked me about Catherine, about my woodworking, about my life. Really asked. Really listened. I like hair, I told Marcus after. Yeah, he said. Me too. It's weird having a relationship where I'm not constantly anxious. It shouldn't be weird, son. That should be normal. I'm learning that. I'm still learning things too. That it's okay to take up space. That leaving isn't always running away, sometimes it's running toward. That silence can be power. That justice doesn't have to be revenge. That starting over at 64 isn't ending, it's beginning again. Diana and I are taking it slow. She has her place. I have mine. Sometimes she stays over. Sometimes I stay at hers. We're figuring it out as we go. No rules, no ultimatums. Just two people who found each other in the aftermath of other people's messes. Last week, I built a new rocking chair. Not to replace Catherine's you can't replace 42 years of memory, but to honor it, to say, I was here, we were here, and now I'm here still, moving forward, rocking into whatever comes next. Jim stopped by while I was finishing the staining. Looks good, he said. Thanks. You look good too, Walter. Happy. I am. And I realized it was true. For the first time in 3 years, I wasn't just existing. I was living. Catherine would be proud of you, Jim said, for not letting them take this from you. They tried, I said. But this was never theirs to take. And it wasn't. The house? Yes. The space, the rooms, the physical structure, Veronica tried to take all of that. But what she couldn't take was the part that mattered. The memories, the foundation, the man I was before I forgot how to be him. I didn't lose my house. I found myself again. And in the end, that was the only eviction that mattered.